How you guys doing?
What's up, Brandon? How are you?
Good.
What was the focus for you guys in the off week on defense?
Just working on fundamentals, technique, back to the basics. Developing some of the younger guys and guys that haven't played as much. Just trying to get them caught up. Flying around with good energy. Then obviously, getting out on the recruiting trail.
What's it like for you? What's it mean for you guys to get back in person recruiting on the trail?
It's huge. I mean, the evaluation process is a lot harder if you're just looking on a screen or an iPhone. You know what I mean? So to be able to see guys in person, live in action, you get a much better feel for speed, for change of direction, for size, all those things. And it's just good to get back out in the community and see high school ball. You know what I mean? So come a long way since last time we were able to do that.
Ryan, did your guys show you anything during this last week? Did you learn anything about them with no game and just straight up fundamental stuff?
I don't know if learned anything about our guys.
Yeah.
Just what I've seen since I've been here. Just guys that work hard, like ball, and pay attention to detail. I feel like we got better over the bye week, which is always the goal. And so I'm looking forward to this week's practice and this week's preparation against a top 10 opponent.
Was there anybody from maybe that more developmental group that showed you something this week, or maybe added to what they've been doing?
Yeah, I mean, I've saw improvement from the last time I have really been able to get down and coach those guys. A lot of times the development group is on the scout team, and so you're focused on getting the travel roster ready to go play a game. And so to see some of the younger guys like Prince Green, for example, just from where they were at the start of fall camp to where they are now, just in their maturity and their being comfortable within the system and playing faster and you saw jumps there for sure.
Ryan, what are you preparing for Sean Clifford, or are you kind of preparing for both?
You got to prepare for both. I'm sure we won't know anything until the ball's kicked off in terms of who's playing, who's not at that position. Both are extremely talented, and obviously the starter is a starter for a reason. But number 2 came in there and obviously showed some athleticism. He's got a live arm. I'm sure with the 2 weeks of preparation, he'll be comfortable in the system, and he's got a lot of guys around him that are very, very good players.
What do you make of that duo of Dotson and Washington at wide receiver? What challenges do they give you?
I mean, they're obviously a lot of speed on the perimeter. And they put them in multiple spots. They get the ball out to them quick on some now screens and on some RPOs. They run really good routes down the field. And then just their tight ends are a problem. You know what I mean? They're big. They're physical. So you'll get 12 personnel pictures, and you also get empty and 10 personnel pictures out of the same personnel grouping. So our hands will be full with trying to combat that from not only a schematic standpoint, but from a personnel matchup standpoint as well. They're good. They're a top 10 team for a reason.
I know we'll ask Brad about Jake, but just that linebacker group as a whole, if he's good to go or not, will be making just where they're at.
That's the thing about this season has been, Jake's been in and out of the lineup, so we've got a lot of guys that have gotten a lot of playing experience and have played well. And so, what I expect from that group is just what we've been seeing in the last 4 or 5 weeks, just keep improving and getting us in the right calls and the right checks and doing their job at an efficient rate.
And you said something maybe about that group that for some point you've had both of the guys who started week 0. Was that something you expected, like depth-wise? Did you kind of expect to maybe not see a huge crater there?
Yeah, I knew coming out of I didn't know about Tariq and Kalen because they were not with us in the spring, just coming off injuries. But from watching tape, I knew that they were capable guys and plenty athletic enough to play good ball. And I think we got one of the best linebacker coaches in the country in Andy Boo. So I was fully confident that he'd get them ready to play, and he has. And so to have those 4 guys, I don't know if I've ever been that deep at at a line, the inside backer position. And those guys are playing good football. So I'm glad we had all four of them. Obviously, we needed all four, and still do. So, and I think Coach Boo's done a great job with that group.
Coach, the defense has played well enough this year where you've given the offense enough opportunities on the field to try and get something going. How important is that going to be to keep up that trend this game against Penn State?
You know, obviously we haven't done enough, right? We, you know, it's a team game, and you know, a lot of the games that we've lost, we were ahead in the fourth quarter and gave up points, and so we have to be better. We can't control what is going on throughout the course of the game, other than when we're on the field. You know, it's pivotal in any game to try to win a turnover margin and specifically get off the field on third downs. I think that's something we can definitely do better at in order to give our offense, you know, more possessions and a chance to put up points on the board. And you know, obviously we haven't done a good enough job of that as of late.
Ryan, have you been forced to get creative up front on the D-line, just simply by the numbers that you have, or you've been able to kind of do what you want to do because guys like Keith and guys like Johnny Newton have been playing as many snaps as they are?
You know, I think it's a little bit of both. You know, just depending on who's available and who's not, week in and week out, and also what type of offense we're seeing.
Sure.
So I think there's a little bit of give and take on both sides of that.
Ryan, there's a couple games you guys were really good getting off the field on third down, and some were not. What's the mindset required to recognize maybe the magnitude of the moment and execute to get off the field?
Yeah, I mean, obviously your intensity level has to heighten. Your awareness has to heighten based off the down and distance. You know, you're expecting to see different types of route combinations. But then too, you know, we're playing against good offenses, and so sometimes they make plays and we didn't. You know, whether or not it was an execution piece or a technique piece or just my matchup won that battle. You know, I can point at every third down that we didn't get off the field and give you a reason. You know what I mean? You know, so myself and the staff got to do a good job of preparing our guys and you know, schematically setting them up with answers to certain formations and situations. And ultimately we got to execute on third down to get off the field.
Ryan, what do you attribute the turnover margin that's worked in your favor to?
You know, obviously it's the offense taking care of the football and not turning it over, and then you know, our guys just having an awareness of where the football is and attacking it. Whether it's you know, I think we've done a good job of not only getting interceptions but causing fumbles and getting them. So it's just an awareness of where the football is when you're going to make a tackle, and you know, we talk about it all the time. You know, you got to be obsessed with turnovers in order to create them. So I know we work on it every week in practice, and you know, our guys have a good awareness of you know, when they're going in to make a tackle of where the football is and trying to punch or strip it out.
Ryan, Tony said that Brett is the hardest working head coach he's seen in recruiting. What kind of tone has he set when it comes to when you guys get out of the road recruiting and just the effort it takes to build up this roster?
Yeah, I mean, he sets the standard at the top. You know what I mean? And I'll echo that with what Tony said. Like, he is the hardest working head coach that I've ever worked for, and it's not even close in terms of recruiting. You know, obviously he's got the gift of gab and he's comfortable in every setting, but just the diligence and the detail with which he approaches every recruit. It's not there's no presentation. You know, it's not cookie cutter. It's not some pre-thought. You know, like I said, presentation that he puts on display. It's individualized for every recruit, and I think that's what makes him special. And so, you know, for the staff, you have to up your ante and try to match his intensity and his passion for recruiting. And I think it's just because he's so relationship driven and is genuinely interested in the day-to-days of other people's lives, and is always trying to learn from different people, different cultures. And so, you know, that just breeds into this staff. You know, he starts at the top and it kind of trickles down. And so, you know, obviously the onus on taking care of the state has been the top priority. And then from there, just trying to fill holes where we need them, and I'm trying to get the right guys that fit our culture into the locker room.
Coach, you said you have to be obsessed with turnovers to force them. Is there a balance when you're coaching between forcing turnovers and not being too aggressive, but still being able to get off the field on third down?
No, I think, I'm just an aggressive by nature, so, I'd much rather get off the field on first down than third down. So turnovers are huge, they're momentum building. So anytime you can get a turnover, man, that's huge for us.
Kind of a unique question, but he's all around you hear me before. He's got the energy, the aura. Why do you think he's able to pour so much into these kids and I guess have them gravitate towards him naturally as opposed to it being maybe like pretending or something?
Yeah, I mean, he's authentic. Like you said, you kind of see what he brings every day, and Aaron is Aaron every day of the week. I think a lot of it's just who he is as an individual and his background growing up, his passion for the game, his passion for people, and so it's easy to gravitate towards that positive energy, and I'm glad he brings it every day. He brings it within the defensive staff as well. Obviously, there are times where certain days might be harder than others, and he's always there to be a positive energy booster, not only for the locker room but for the staff as well.
I'm gonna ask, does he preach to you all like he sometimes preaches to us a little bit? You see that background in him?
Yeah, I see it.
This was his path before going into coaching.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's necessarily preached to me personally, but yeah, I've seen it. I've definitely seen it.
Well, I know we've talked a lot about Kirby, but Sydney's also looks like he's playing a little bit better. You talked, I think, last week about in the spring saying, hey, sometimes
Yeah, he was too fast.
Yeah, how do you find that? Because I know, like you said, you want to be aggressive, but to get him to maybe dial it back, what's been the biggest connecting point with him to get him here?
It's just, I think it's learning the scheme more so than anything else. Just learning, when you can be aggressive and when you can't, and the whys, right? Like, if it's cover 3 and you're the middle third player, you can't be aggressive. You know what I mean? And sometimes you got to go through a Virginia game to understand that, right? And I think he's really stepped up and taken an onus on being a leader. I think that's where he's improved the most. And in order to be a leader, you got to be accountable to your teammates. And I think that accountability has led to him being more consistent on the field and picking and choosing the right times to be aggressive. Because obviously you guys have seen when it's the right time and he pulls the trigger and goes, like it's a helmet on the ground, rolling around and getting a guy out of the game. You know what I mean? Type of play. So those two guys have been doing a great job here as of late. Talking about Sydney and Kirby, and they still have a lot of room to grow.
Is that something you saw in film where like they might need to get him to dial it back a little bit, like when you were first kind of going through the process of learning this team?
Yeah, I watched every snap that he took last year. You saw the same things. So I was excited as heck to get a chance to work with him. And then in the springtime, he was guns blazing, man. Like he really was. And so it's been fun to see him progress the way he has. And he's probably the first person I've coached where I've had to pull the reins that much. You know what I mean? And so it's a testament to who he is, and his brother's the same way. Like they're definitely wired a little bit different.
The way the schedule shook out this year with 2 bye weeks, is there a longer term advantage when you have double the opportunity like you got this past week?
I think it helps out obviously on the recruiting trail, being able to get out twice, and then for your developmental guys, just to get an extra week of practice. Really, there's still NCAA rules with how much you can practice within those times, but it's just another week where you get to learn and try to pour into them some football IQ, and it's a bonus week of football, so I think it's advantageous for sure.